Oh, I'm sorry, people. Bear with me. My screen was on the wrong thing.
Mhm.
And so here we go.
Hi everybody, welcome to another episode of Paranormal Versus with myself, Kell Ridley, and my co-host Michael Koff. And hello. We've got the pleasure to introduce back to the show Kenneth Torres. Is that how you pronounce it, Kenneth?
Yep, Kenneth Torres.
Torres, right?
Yep,
yeah,
Torres,
I just thought I'd better double check. Like, obviously English, you know what we're like.
It's all good.
Anyway, we're absolutely ecstatic to have you back on the show. So we're going to get chatting again. And just for the people that don't know who you are, do you want to introduce yourself and what you actually do?
Yeah, so my name is Kenneth Torres, but I'm also a clergy, so it's Father Kenneth Torres. I'm with the Solomonic Order of St. Michael the Archangel. We are an independent Catholic ministry separated from the Vatican, which simply means that we are not affiliated with them, but we still practice their traditions and their customs. And the Vatican Church has allowed, through the Council of Utrecht and other councils of the Vatican, to have independent Catholics. Basically, we are an extension of we're an expression of the Catholic faith. So, but we are. And then I'm also a member of the Warren Legacy Foundation for Paranormal Research. I work with the grandson of Ed and Lorraine Warren, and we carry their work on a worldwide level. I've been there for about 3 years now. I'm a board member, and I'm also one of the directors, as well as I am a medically retired U.S. Marine Corps veteran with experience in government contracting, counterintelligence, and now I'm clergy. So that's who I am.
Excellent. That's fantastic. We were just talking, obviously, before we went live about like demonology and stuff like that. Like I had asked you if you'd ever dealt with anything demonic or any demons or anything like that. Do you want to just let the viewers know?
So demonic possession and exorcism, that stuff is rare. I did work a case a few years ago with Chris McKinnell. We were assisting on an exorcism case overseas. There was an individual who was studying the occult, desecrating graves, performing actual dark satanic rituals, and was possessed by an inhuman spirit. Last year, I was at a convention with one of my colleagues, Joe Frankie, and we ended up doing a spiritual deliverance, a minor rite of deliverance on an individual who we believe was oppressed. His eyes turned black in front of us. I gave him a crucifix in his hand to hold it. His whole body was cold. His hand turned hot red, and in his hand was the shape of the crucifix that I gave him. He was yelling and screaming blasphemies at me and knew certain things about me that he shouldn't have. And then recently, another case that I'm working with the foundation, we are helping another individual who is not, I don't think, is possessed, but is dealing with some strong spiritual bonds. So that's my experience so far with the demonic, so to speak. It's highly rare. It hardly ever happens. So to sit here and say that I deal with it every day is a fallacy. It's a lie.
Yeah.
Generally speaking, most people will never have an encounter with a demonic entity, so to speak. What they might do is they might have an encounter with a negative energy, and oftentimes they confuse that for what we call demonic.
Yeah.
Hey, Michelle, what's going on?
I actually have an interesting question for you, Kenneth.
Yeah.
When you say you're going to do an exorcism, what qualifies it to need an exorcism?
Well, we got to do a full psychological, medical, physical evaluation on the individual. We have to rule out every possibility of psychosis, dissociative identity disorder, schizophrenia, depression, anxiety. As well as top of that, we have to look for some abnormal factors. People displaying supernatural feats, levitating, speaking in different languages, aversion to religious and holy objects, precognition, knowing things about you that they shouldn't know, and just overall a strong supernatural presence, so to speak.
Okay.
So is there anything like what you would see in the movies, like some of the things that they do, and or is it
As
nothing
far
like that?
as far as I've experienced, I haven't experienced split pea soup. I haven't experienced any of that, but
Yeah.
I have experienced the blasphemies. I have experienced the catatonic state. I have experienced the superhuman strength. A person who is 100 pounds should not be able to toss a person who's 350 pounds across the room, by themselves. I mean, yeah, that could be ruled out. That can be ruled as some sort of mental illness. But once the assessment has already been done, then we see that the doctors and the psychologists have no cause or reason for why this person is behaving the way they are, then that leads me to believe that it can be a supernatural factor.
Right. So do they speak in tongues like what you would see in the movies?
What I've experienced, no. They can speak other languages, but I haven't experienced that yet. Right. I mean, normally a person, there's different ways that people become possessed, and it's not all what you see in Hollywood. Sometimes it's just the extreme agony and the pain and the torturing and their suffering that they're going through, like marks and scars on their body, things appearing and reappearing on their body. Some other exorcists have reported, people speaking Aramaic or Latin, but I have not personally experienced that.
Wow. Yeah. So what exactly do you do in the Warren legacy as well? What is it that got you into that as well?
So the Warren Legacy Foundation was created in 2014 by the late Lorraine Warren and her grandson Chris McKinnell. And the goal of the foundation is to educate persons on the paranormal, help minimize the fear, teach and instruct future investigators, and also help support psychics in developing their abilities.
Oh, that's cool.
And most of our cases that we deal with are a little darker in nature.
Mm-hmm.
And when I say darker, it doesn't always necessarily mean something supernaturally darker. Sometimes we are dealing with people who believe they may be experiencing some sort of supernatural activity, but turns out after the evaluations are done, they are suffering from an undiagnosed, untreated mental or physiological illness. So, but at the end of the day, though, our clients are number one. So it doesn't matter whether it's supernatural or physical, we're still going to help you out regardless.
Yeah. Wow.
I have an interesting question for you, Kenneth.
Yeah.
If someone, say, has gone on an investigation, picked something up that's negative or dark, and what signs should they be looking for themselves to go, yes, I need to get this removed, but also this could be, like you're saying, demonic maybe that they picked up and need to call you for help?
So the first thing I would do is never take anything from any location. That is the first rule that I always have. Don't take anything from anywhere. If it's not yours, if it doesn't belong to you, don't take it home, because you have no idea what the initial intention of that was. And more than likely you are going to deal with an angry spirit, a human angry spirit, because we do have free will. So if you were a jerk in life, you're going to be a jerk in the afterlife. So I would say that you are more than likely not going to encounter this demonic entity. What you might encounter is an attachment or something that's followed you home because they're upset with what you did. So, you look for changes in behavior. You look for subtle activity happening around your house. Obviously, you try to explain things in a natural way first. But once you can't explain the natural and you have definitive concrete evidence that there is some supernatural activity happening, then that's when you ground yourself. That's when you protect yourself, which you should always be doing anyway. Now, before you go on any investigation, during an investigation and after an investigation, you need to properly ground yourself, protect yourself according to your faiths and to your belief systems. Now, just because, we have a certain faith and have a certain belief system, it does not mean that we may not get attacked or suffer some supernatural anomaly. I mean, I'm a person of the faith, and I've gone into situations where, although, I pray and I bless myself and I bless my team, there are times when I feel nauseated, I feel weak, I feel lightheaded. I touch something and it doesn't feel right. And that's when I say, okay, you go outside, you take a deep breath, you reconnect with nature, with earth, ground yourself again, and you go back into the investigation. But more importantly, just don't take stuff that doesn't belong to you. I see a lot of these amateur investigators who go to these locations and they take things that don't belong to them. It's like, well, the house is abandoned. No one's living here. Well, you probably shouldn't have been abandoned house anyway, because it's dangerous, And if you're going to take something, you should ask for permission from the owner, or if you want to go the extra step, call out to whatever energies, like, hey, I'm taking this out of respect, blah, blah, blah. But common courtesy says don't take stuff that doesn't belong to you. That's theft.
Yeah.
Right.
So what got you first interested in the paranormal?
So I had a really bad experience growing up with the supernatural. Growing up back in the East Coast, my great-grandmother was a high priestess in Santeria, which is an Afro-Caribbean practice rooted. We practice a lot in Puerto Rico, the Dominican Republic. It's a mixture of Umbanda, Kimbanda, and Voodoo, but it's also integrated with Catholicism. So I experienced a lot of things growing up, watching my grandmother practice Santeria, things I couldn't explain. But it wasn't until I had a really personal encounter with, my family and I, we had a really bad encounter with some negative energy that was actually attacking my little sister, was harming her, was making her do things she wasn't supposed to. Things would explode in the house.
Wow.
My father would get pushed down the stairs. The crucifix, we would have it up on the wall, and we'd come home and it'd be on the ground or stuck inside the candle, upside down, with the whole candle just exploded, into bits and pieces, even to the point where my dog, our childhood dog, was missing. And we found him a few weeks later in the backyard of our house. Your discretion, he was crucified. He was gutted open with his intestines hanging out. God. He was sacrificed in a ritualistic manner, which was indicative of some form of satanic ritual. And the residents that used to live below us, I guess apparently they used to practice dark satanic rituals, so to speak. So there's a lot of things that happened, and it really affected my family. And that's when I knew that this stuff was real.
Mm-hmm. Well,
yeah, my condolences for your dog, man.
Yeah.
That's harsh.
Appreciate it. Yeah. His name was Zuki. He was a Japanese Akita. He was a really good boy. He was actually our defender, our protector, and I think that's why he was attacked first. He was harmed because he would sense things. Animals can sense evil.
Right.
That's horrendous. Absolutely horrendous. You've just you said that was a supernatural experience. Most people would call it paranormal. Is there a difference in your eyes between supernatural and paranormal?
Well, I mean, supernatural and paranormal to me, I think for me, they're kind of along the same lines. They're just unexplainable. Paranormal is above the normal. Supernatural, I mean, to me, I think those words are easily intertwined. But for me, no, this was not. It was more than a supernatural experience. It was a really dark energy that was actually coming out from under the bed in a purple dress and telling my sister to kill us, teaching her how to use dirty words. And one time my little sister woke up. My dad alleges that she woke up in the middle of the night. Her eyes were glowing white, and she came at them with a knife to kill them.
Oh my God.
So, and then this little girl, which I surmise is a negative energy, for all intents and purposes, because I don't really like using the D word a lot because it gets tossed around. But this was something a lot darker in nature. And it was really powerful. And it's left an impact on our family. Even up until this day, we still talk about it. However, my little sister does not remember those things.
Yeah.
So I have a interesting question that I've been thinking about even from the last time you were on our show. Is you mentioned that your order is excommunicated, correct?
So, not that we are excommunicated. We are not in communion with Rome, so to speak. So we are not in alignment with the Vatican because we are independent Catholics. We don't see the Pope as infallible. So we recognize the teachings of the church. We understand but we don't recognize the Pope as infallible. And because our clergymen are allowed to marry, that's why we are not in alignment with Rome. So it's basically, it's another expression of the Catholic faith. So we are validly recognized because we have to have apostolic succession. And apostolic succession comes from those who were previously clergy of the Vatican. So my old founder, who passed away, Archbishop Vendega, was a Vatican priest, and he was retired, and he still kept his holy orders. So he created his own ministry, which I inherited it. And because of him, I have apostolic succession, and my holy orders are valid, and I'm validly consecrated as a priest.
Okay, so where I was going with that is when you walk into a church, are the priests or reverends or anybody like going, "What are you doing here?" So you're accepted in any.
Yeah, I'm accepted, and I have, and the thing is, like, yeah, I still go to mass, but I don't go to a Catholic church and I wear my uniform. I just go as a regular parishioner, is what I do. All of our ministry is home based. We are online monasteries. A lot of the work I do is chaplaincy, and I've spoken to a lot of priests. I have a lot of good friends that are priests that are with the Vatican, and they love what we do because we are not under the red tape that the Vatican has. There's a lot of red tape that you have to go through in order to get certain services. And we don't do that. My order, my religious order, we are all loving, we are accepting, and we will pray for you. We will love you. We will baptize you. We'll give you Eucharist. We don't care what you worship. We don't care who you sleep with. We don't care what colors of the flag you represent. We're going to love you no matter what, because those are the teachings of Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ walked with prostitutes, and he walked with other people that were less than desirable. So I'm just trying to live and emulate what the true love of Jesus Christ is. And that's how people in my order, my deacons and my mother superior and the other clergymen, that's how they operate their life.
So I'm just curious, what's your thoughts on the Mary Magdalene story?
I'm not too sure. The Mary Magdalene story, what do you mean? Like the history of it, or?
She wasn't the prostitute that they made her out to be, that she was one of the first true apostles?
Well, I honestly haven't really delved too much into that, and I haven't given it much thought. But I do believe that there are a lot of things that we can, learn from Mary Magdalene. Even at the end of the day, Jesus Christ accepted her for who she was, and she still walked with him. So at the end of the day, I don't think it really matters. What we can gather from that story is that there was love. Jesus Christ loved other individuals, and it doesn't matter who you are and who you were. He was going to love you regardless. I think once we start focusing on this story of the apostles and this and that, it takes away from the true grace of that story, which is an encompassing love that Jesus Christ showed.
Have you got a following question there, Michael?
Well, the other question I had along those lines, I'm not sure if you can answer or not. And I gotta apologize, my dogs are going nuts. I don't know what set them off.
It's all right.
But one question I have for you is, it's kind of along the ancient laws. And they say in the Bible, Mary Magdalene washed Jesus's feet and anointed his feet. As I understood it, only the wife could do that to a man. That not just anyone could walk up and go, "Oh, hey, let me wash your feet in my hair." Is that true, or is that something that's been?
Well, I mean, it just depends on rabbinical law, on Jewish law. But the thing with that story is that we see a woman that honored Jesus Christ as the Savior, as the Messiah, and out of sign of posterity, and humility, she washed his feet, and that's why I see it. That is her devout belief in him being the Messiah. So whether or not we talk about wives and the canon law, none of that stuff makes a difference, because the great example that we get out of this is that Jesus Christ allowed that to happen, and it's okay. The problem that we have today is that everybody gets so caught up on all of these laws and these rules and these regulations, and it takes away from the true ministry of what servitude is. And that's one reason why, as independent Catholics, we have a little more leeway, because we're not so much focused on what these rules say. Well, you can and you cannot do this. Okay, yeah, some rules may apply to us, and we can adapt them, and we can understand that they were there for a reason. But at the end of the day, if you're going to base your life upon rules and you're not going to love other people, then that's a problem. Jesus Christ said, amongst all things, you have forgotten my true commandment, which is love. You know law, you know scripture, you know rules. But most importantly, you've forgotten the true law, my true commandment to use to love one another. And that's what the Pharisees always did. The Pharisees always used to give Jesus problems too. Well, you're doing this on a Sabbath. Well, they could say all of these wonderful laws, and they can quote all of these wonderful traditions. But at the end of the day, they lost true sight of what they were supposed to do. They were supposed to serve people. They were supposed to be the embodiment of what God is and what true love is.
Yeah, they got too concerned with the coinage.
Yeah. Yep, that's exactly what it is. That's exactly. Just like, when people talk about, Deuteronomy says, don't consort with witches, mediums, and all that stuff. That's an old law. That's an old law for the old Israel, because they were corrupt and they were doing things that were malicious. They were actually sacrificing their people. So that's the old law. That's before Jesus Christ came. And so when Jesus Christ came, we're no longer under any law. We are under the new covenant, which is Jesus Christ. So people will say, well, we're still under the law. No, we are not under any law. We are under the new covenant, which is Jesus Christ. Because I firmly believe that people who are intuitives and have these abilities, they are gifts from God. Look at the book of Daniel. Daniel, he had visions and he had different things happen, and he was able to predict certain things, and it came into fruition based upon his visions. So I think that these gifts, they are gifts from the Creator, from the divine Creator. But it just also depends how you use them. So I don't think witches and mediums and people who are intuitive are evil. I don't. I really don't. But especially when it comes to intuitives, I think these are people that have wonderful gifts. And then we also have to go farther than that as well. It's not just what the Bible says. The Bible is a commandment. It's the rules on how to live your life on a spiritual level. It cracks me up. There's a lot of these new fundamentalists and these extreme Protestants. They're like, well, it doesn't say that in the Bible, so it's not true. Okay, so it doesn't talk about accounting and financing in the Bible, so it's not true. It doesn't talk about science and water and molecular things in the Bible. Well, it's not true. No. People are misconstruing the Bible for what it really is. Yes, it's a way to walk spiritually with God, but it's not the answer to everything else. There are natural explanations. We can explain science. So there are a lot of people that they just use these words and these laws, and they hurt other people because of it. And I'm not down with that. I don't like when people try to use scripture or try to use the Bible to hurt other people. That's wrong. The word of God is supposed to be a word of edification. You're supposed to fill people with joy and love and show grace and mercy. And if you're not doing that, then are you really a true follower of Christ? You're not. You're just a person that just goes to church and reads a book and thinks you know what you're saying. And that's the problem. That is a lot of problem too that we have, with a lot of these other clergy that are out there on social media. God bless them for wanting to be good people and wanting to, set an example. But without formal training, without formal education, you're just repeating nonsense. And that's why I always have this trouble, because I'm a doctorate in divinity. I have a real religious degree, and I have a master's in pastoral counseling. A lot of times it's hard for me to convey what I say because I have traumatic brain injury, because I am a veteran. I served in the Marine Corps. And so, my words won't come out as eloquent as Dr. Jordan Peterson, but I have some training, and I understand, what hermeneutics is, interpretation, of scripture. And so we have to be really careful too when we are listening to these other fake book preachers and what they say to hurt other people.
Yeah. I've actually, years ago, one of my best friends, mum was really, really into the Catholic, what's that word? she was at church like as often as she possibly could. And I used to be, well, back then I studied witchcraft for about 8 years. So every time I used to step into our house, she used to get her holy water and like obviously douse me friend with holy water all the time. So
yeah. The unfortunate part is there are a lot of narratives that, people are taught, and you're not going to convince them any otherwise.
Yeah.
So the only thing you can do is just do your very best to be a good person and live your life, according to what you believe and what your faith is. Like, I don't necessarily agree with a lot of other belief systems, but it doesn't mean I'm going to condemn you. It doesn't mean I'm going to hate you. I may not always agree with what you believe in, but I'm going to respect you for who you are, because you are still a child of God. You are still my brother and you're my sister. We may not always agree, but I'm always going to love you and respect you. And through my actions, I want to show you, hey, what you're doing, I may not agree with, but let me also show you how I live my life. And in hopes maybe you'll see that I'm not a bad person either.
Yeah.
I'm just interested, Kel, how did your friend get a hold of holy water? Did they steal it from a church?
It was a mum that got it. She got it. It was in a little bottle. She used to get them regularly, to be quite honest, and she used to save them in a display case. But I'm not 100% where she got it from.
Because I'm like, wow, just happened to have holy water on
Oh,
hand.
yeah. She had it all. Every time we step foot in that house, that's what she would do. She would douse in holy water. So
I got holy water everywhere. Holy water is good for you internally. You could drink it. Check where it comes from first. I use holy water. I got holy water in my car. I use holy water when I'm done at the Costco line, because all those germs and all that negative energy, I just, it's good for that. So I think, what they were hoping is that they would douse holy water on you and you would light up on fire. So that's unfortunate. A lot of cradle Christians and Catholics believe that.
Yeah.
And like when I was younger, I've studied different belief systems, and there's over 3,000 belief systems in the world, and each one is subjective. Our truth is subjective to us. So who am I to tell you that you're wrong? It's not my place. It is not my place to tell you what you should be wearing, what you should be worshiping. That's not my place.
Yeah. Me daughter's church that was attached to our school, there used to be I don't know if it was a reverend or a priest. Oh, it was a father. That was it. And he was called Father Gary. And basically, I remember one Sunday, because we had to go to church because our kids were going to be christened. So you had to go 6 weeks in a row. And basically, he was the new father of obviously that church. And he shocked all the old ladies who were staunch Catholics. And then he says, right, I'm doing a collection so I can get a new tattoo. And my God, they were absolutely mortified. They were horrified.
Well, that's another thing too. It's like a lot of people misunderstand the scripture. It specifically says, do not get images of the dead engraved in your body. But the tattoos that I have are not images of dead people. It's just a beautiful work of art. And a lot of that has to do with the Old Testament and not understanding the New Covenant. So people want to think like that. They think that everything is evil. Father Mike Schmidt, he's a notable priest that I follow on YouTube. He's got a tattoo. I've got a couple of other priests that I know that are in the Vatican as well. They have tattoos, nothing negative, what I mean? Nothing satanic or whatever, but it's cute little tattoos, I have tattoos all over my body because I got them when I was in the military. So a lot of my tattoos are just remembrances of what I've done around the world and my history with, my time in the Marine Corps. And it's just a memory of my fallen brothers.
Yeah, that's understandable. With this father, I think he was just trying to lighten the mood, obviously. And like I say, the older people took it the wrong way.
You gotta joke around a little bit. You can't take yourself so seriously. That's one thing I like to do. I do a lot of chaplaincy. A lot of the work that I do every day is chaplaincy work. I talk to a lot of people. I counsel them. I'm not a licensed mental health professional, but I can provide faith-based guidance. And if need be, I have resources for them, and I connect them with licensed mental health professionals to get the treatment and the medication that they need. And, you'd be surprised by how many people are also against that. People are just like, they're old school Catholics and they're old school Christians. And they're like, well, It's against the Bible to go see a psychiatrist. It's against the Bible to go see a doctor. Why? Well, because I have faith in God and God is going to heal me. Well, that's not how that works. Let me tell you guys a story. There is a story of a man who was going through a flood, and his house was flooding, and he was standing on the top of his roof because this house was ready to go under. A boat comes by, and he goes, hey, you know what? You should get on the boat with your dogs because you're going to drown. And the guy goes, no, I'm waiting for God. Okay, cool. Boom. A few hours later, hey, your house is going to go under very shortly. You should really get on this helicopter so we can rescue you and your dogs. Guy's like, nope, I'm waiting for God because I have faith. All right, cool. And then that boat comes by again. Hey, you're literally going to drown in like less than 5 minutes. No, I'm waiting for God, right? Boom. The guy dies. He goes through the gates of St. Peter, and he sees God, and he goes, God, you're my friend. I had faith in you. Why didn't you save me? And he goes, well, I sent you 2 boats and a helicopter, you dingbat.
Yeah, I love that story.
So people have this thing about faith that when you believe in God, that the resolution is always going to be some supernatural anomaly. When I believe that psychologists and doctors are a gift, they have been trained. They have hands that have been given to them by the Creator to heal and help other people. So please don't be one of those people that, well, if I have a sickness, I believe in God. Yeah, you can believe in God and you can have faith. I tell you what, though, the good thing about that is you can die in pain, you can die in agony, and your soul is going to rest appropriately because you have a belief system. But don't you think that it's better to get better and go see that chemo treatment or go see that doctor for that, tumor that you may have? I'm just saying, common sense is not so
Yeah.
Yeah. I always like to say, when people would say that to me, going, well, God will fix this, and I would always kind of chuckle and go, why do you think I'm here?
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Like, why did he send me here with a way to help you if you weren't supposed to get help?
Exactly. People they misunderstand the whole concept of what faith is. Faith also allows you to understand that sometimes the help that you're going to receive is not going to be supernatural in nature. Not like you're going to be levitating off the ground. You're going to get lifted into the sky and you're going to see the sun and it's going to heal you. Sometimes that divine intervention is that individual coming to help you out.
Yeah.
So.
Anyway, going back to the Warren legacy, what's the best part of it for you to be part of that?
For me, it's wonderful because we are all diverse. We pride ourselves in our diversity, and we pride ourselves in all of our investigators. We have over 100 investigators worldwide with different belief systems, different techniques, different methodology. Scientists, psychologists, skeptics, people who are just good with computers and engineering. So what I love about it is the diversity. I love that we can all come together and help someone out in need.
Yeah.
Because I may not always have the answers. I'm definitely no expert, and I don't know everything. And if there are people who think that they are experts and they know everything, then I would consider you to reevaluate that thought process and that thought logic. Because if you were to know everything, then you would essentially be some sort of divine being.
Yeah. You do sort of get them, like the ones that think that they do know everything. So I do know what you mean.
And I try to make it very clear that just because I have these titles doesn't mean that I'm an expert at anything. These are personal accolades, things that I've achieved for myself, but I'm always constantly learning. You have to constantly learn. You have to be able to be open to critique, and you have to be able to understand that, there are several ways to do many different things, and you have to be open and honest. You have to be susceptible to receive advice. You have to be susceptible to understand a new ideology and a new thought process.
Yeah, a prime example of that, for the people who are in what I call religiosity is, look at the Bible itself. You have the Old Testament God who is, you either obey me or I kill you, basically. To the New Testament, same God, but all of a sudden he's well, you made a mistake, but it wasn't that bad. So come on in, let's come on home. And he
Yeah.
becomes more forgiving. It's like, wait, you have no forgiveness to forgiveness. So even he changes his mind and his attitude.
Well, I would have to disagree with you on that. God has always been forgiving and he's always been loving. That hasn't changed. You know, what it is at that time, there wasn't a mediator. There wasn't Jesus Christ in between. So yeah, it's like a parent. As a parent, you're going to instruct your kids on how to do certain things and you are going to punish them accordingly. Oftentimes people confuse God's anger with God's wrath. Wrath is a just reaction, a just punishment to something. Wrath is just completely out of this world heinous. When God flooded the earth, there was a lot of things that happened. Yeah, he did that out of anger and he promised to never do it again. And that's why Jesus Christ came in, because he was so angry and he was so hurt with how nasty and vile human beings became. We started fornicating with our children. We started doing these nasty rituals and sacrificing people for no reason. We just became a nasty society. And God did not like that, because he cannot stand sin. So, but yeah, he has always been forgiving. All you just had to do was follow the program, follow the rules. You follow my rules and you're good to go. But because of that, there is punishment. So, and that's what happens in everyday life. It's just like a parent. There are rules set in place that you set for your children. And what are the consequences if you don't follow them? They are going to be equal and just reactions to what they didn't follow. So, that's where I say.
So what's your stance on the Nephilim?
The Nephilim. So, I've heard so much of the Nephilim, and it said in the beginning, God's sons walked the earth. I believe that there is some truth to that there were the Nephilim, and that they did walk this earth. And I think maybe that's one of the reasons why the flood happened, because these Nephilim actually intermingled with human beings and they weren't supposed to, and they created abominations. So I do believe that the Nephilim did exist. But quite honestly, that's, I really try not to focus on whether or not the Nephilim were here or not. That was a long time ago. It was way before our time. I just try to focus on the good now.
Okay.
Well, just so, have you read the book To Ride a Pale Horse, The Anunnaki, Zachariah Sitchin?
Right.
Yeah. So I mean, that's actually a really good book. That's a really good read. The Anunnaki, the Zachariah Sitchin.
Yeah. Have we lost you, Kell?
Sorry?
I said, have we lost you? You seem to be glazing over there.
I'm just like taking everything in. It's like, yeah, I wasn't expecting to be like obviously talking about this subject, but like so like intensely. But yeah, it's really interesting. So I'm just trying to take every little bit of it in.
Yeah.
But obviously you both know a lot more about that than what I do. So it's I've never like obviously looked that much into it. So
well, yeah, I mean the Nephilim is always been one of those things that it always has intrigued me, but at the end of the day, I don't focus too much on it, because that takes away from the goodness of the scripture. If we focus on one thing, then I don't want to get too consumed by one thing. I want to be able to lend my talent to other places and help other people in the best way that I can, and and that's very true according to the paranormal as well. We have so many people that are just addicted to the paranormal, and everything that they do is paranormal. They have no time for their families. They don't work out. They don't eat right. They don't exercise. They're just so consumed by this, and that actually is a mental illness. That can lead into a lot of physical and mental ailments.
Yeah, that's actually true. I have seen a lot of people obsessed by the paranormal as well. So yeah.
It's interesting how you're saying, taking and focusing on certain aspects. The one thing about the Nephilim story that always sticks with me is my idea that for these angels, so to speak, or, whoever they were, to be with human women so to speak, that means they have to have human-esque qualities. So it kind of brings it to me more of a, yeah, they can really be among us today, and we would never know it because they can look like us.
No, I agree. Just for me, like I also believe in extraterrestrials. I do believe that they can be among us. The thing is, we don't know everything. There's so many things in this world that we don't understand and that we don't know. So anything is quite plausible and anything is quite possible. Sometimes I think that too myself. Sometimes I'm walking down the street and I go, and I say hi to a person. I go, man, I just gave this homeless gentleman $5 and I bought him a meal. That could have been Jesus right there, testing me. Or that person that I saw, that person had a very unique quality about them, and they're very like in tune, and they're very bright, and there's just something about them. I go, is that my guardian angel just acting like a regular person, just checking in on me? It's quite possible. It is. Many things are possible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you say that obviously you believe in extraterrestrials. Do you think that the church has any evidence or anything like that, or?
Well, I can't speak on behalf of the church because I don't work for the church, but there are things out there that would explain that there may be something out of this world, among us. So, I mean, I've experienced growing up in Puerto Rico. I've experienced when I was younger this thing called the chupacabra.
Yeah.
So I was looking outside the window at night at 3:00 in the morning, and I saw this little creature, at least like 3 foot, with like spikes coming down its back, and it was eating a lizard. And his eyes were, it was like reptilian in shape, so to speak. Reptilian. I couldn't really tell too much. It had big black eyes, and it looked over at me, and I got scared, and I went to bed, and I woke up, and I never saw it again. I don't know what that was. It could have been me dreaming at 3:00 in the morning, sleepwalking. Who knows? But I do believe that there are things out there. Here's the thing. We believe in angels. We believe in metaphysics. We believe in crystals. We believe in all of these different things. Why is it so hard to believe that aliens don't exist? I personally don't think and believe that we could be the only living life forms in this galaxy, in this universe. I don't believe it. I don't. I think if anything, we are the aliens. We are the ones that are not ready to meet these other living societies, these other worlds, because we're the ones that are violent. We're the ones that are always trying to conquer things. We are the hurtful species. So whether or not they're out there, and if they really are, I think it's us that poses a danger to them.
Yeah, and to piggyback on that, that reminds me of that famous line from the movie Contact. I think it was either Matthew McConaughey's character or Jodie Foster's character that said it, but they said, if we're alone in the universe, there's an awful lot of wasted space out there.
Yeah,
that's true. I believe that the divine creator God, I think in my heart, I believe that he also created other things that are out there, not just the human race. And maybe, guess what, maybe they're humans just like us. Maybe they're just living in the same existence that we are. We just can't see each other. Now, what if in another galaxy there's another Michael and Kell doing another podcast?
God
except
help
with except with green skin and gray eyes.
I prefer to think I'd have more of a bluish tint, but yeah.
Actually, I was thinking the same thing there, Michael.
Like a metaverse, right? Like a metaverse.
Yeah,
it's possible. Yeah,
it's possible.
But these are things that as human beings, we'll never comprehend because our minds are so small.
Yeah,
and trying to comprehend these things, we're just going to go nuts. Our heads are going to explode. So I don't focus too much on all of that stuff. I just focus what's here in front of me every day on a day-to-day, and what I can control in my environment. Whether or not aliens, are out there among us, whether they visit us, cool. I don't really care. If I'm meant to see them, I'm meant to see them. If it's meant to happen one day, who knows? But I'm just focusing on my job and what I can do to help people today.
That's so cool.
And one thing I'll say is, and I'll piggyback it with the personal experience that I had recently, was I think one of the greatest gifts of being open in the paranormal is we are open to the concept of the afterlife and that there is no finite, you're here, you're gone, you're dust, that there is more. And there's a certain comfort with that. And what I was going to piggyback on that with is 4 weeks ago, I lost my dad. And I
I'm sorry to
had,
hear that.
thank you, and I had a paranormal team investigating a location. They did not know my dad. They didn't know my background or, anything about me. But they said they were getting my dad's name, which is, Joseph. That's a common name, but they had never heard it before. But then there was a certain phrase, 2 words that came in behind it that let me know that was him. And I don't like to share that phrase because I don't want someone who's listening to this goes, "Oh, hey, we got that," and
Yeah.
start trying to capitalize on, "Oh, your dad's here." It's like, well, maybe he is, maybe he isn't.
That's a
But
personal experience too, and that's
yeah,
something that you should keep to yourself, and you treasure it and you honor it. I learned I learned something from Joe Frankie, who is he's a chief investigative officer of the foundation, and he worked with Ed and Lorraine Warren for 35 years. Um, and it was a story that he was telling me about. I think he came across a client, and the client believed that that rainbow was his mother visiting him. And that was perfect. Yeah, if that means something to you, if a rainbow coming through, or if a certain phrase comes through to you, and you believe that that's your loved one talking to you, then that's exactly what it is. We are no one to disregard other people's feelings, and that's the beauty about this world. So many people try to discredit other people and say, no, it's not this, it's not that, but that's a personal experience, and in your heart, if you feel that was your father communicating with you, that was your mother communicating with you by some sort of little sign, whether it be a butterfly, a ladybug, a rainbow, a certain phrase, then that's exactly what it is. And you hold true to that, and you don't change for anybody else, and don't let anyone else convince you otherwise, because those are your personal feelings. And if in your heart, that to be your truth, then that's fine.
yes, thank you. And
Welcome.
yeah, and I was just and I was just trying to late that, what a gift to get, validation of the concept of the afterlife because, yeah, it's like for me, I'm not saying it proves it for everybody, but for me, there was great comfort in that. And my hope is somebody that's listening to this episode, rather now or on a replay, hears that and it's like, hey, there's hope of something more. So
Well,
maybe,
it's just like my older brother. He died a few years ago. He took his own life, and I was doing a Warren Files live one day, and someone had mentioned that there was some energy around me, and I didn't catch that comment, but all of a sudden, my brother and I, we used to play basketball, and after basketball we would have a cigar. Someone said they had saw the light, but I didn't see the comment, and then all of a sudden behind me, I thought I heard screeching of like basketball shoes. My office is carpet. So I heard screeching of basketball shoes, and next thing you know, I get a really strong aroma of a cigar. And then
Wow.
a few comments later said someone, and I didn't even share that with anyone else that my brother had passed away. He had passed away that morning, and I was still grieving, and I was just continuing with the show. And to me, that was an affirmation, a confirmation, so to speak, that it was my brother visiting me.
Going on back onto the Warren. What do you think the best case of the Warrens ever did, in your opinion?
You know what? I think for me, well, the best case. I mean, there's thousands of cases that they've done. I would say for me, the Amityville haunting was one of the most prolific cases that they've done. I mean, everybody's seen the picture of that boy in the stairway, but a lot of people think that was either their grandson, which Chris wasn't even born then, or someone else. But That photo was actually caught by the news media company that was there doing the report. They took that picture, and that little boy showed up. So for me, I think the Amityville case was one of the most significant impact. And then there's also the Devil Made Me Do It, the Arnie Johnson case.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, they, you can't prove demonic possession in court, but that was the Warrens standing up for what they believed in. That there is a supernatural life. There's an afterlife out there, and supernatural things can happen. So I love and I respect and admire the fact that they stood up for Arnie Johnson, and they tried to help plead his case. They had a lot of evidence to support that there was supernatural things, but here in the United States, obviously, you can't prove demonic possession made you do something.
Yeah. So, I mean, you've investigated yourself. What is the most best thing that you've ever experienced? Have you experienced anything apart from the chupacabra?
Yeah. So, I mean, I've had several experiences, but the most recent experience that I had, I was with my team, with the foundation. We were working on a case somewhere here in the United States, non-disclosures, so I can't give the location.
Yeah.
It was a horrible tragedy that happened, and the parent was looking for the child, and they were still stuck at that location. It was a great feeling being able to go with my team and get some confirmation of the activity there, capture some evidence. But it was a great feeling knowing that we were able to help the family, the parent, the parent and the child cross over. But not only that, give the family some closure because they wanted to get rid of that property. So for me, that was the best experience. Caught a lot of, there was a lot of things that we caught. However, most of it was, what's the word? It's contaminated because it was an allowed area.
Mm-hmm.
But just like the subtle signs and even the other things that we experienced, that was the best feeling. Being able to help a family out and help the parent and the child come together and cross over, and be together again after 2 years of looking for each other.
Yeah. Oh my God, that's heartbreaking.
Yeah, it's just it was a tragic case, but to me that was the best thing ever. Being able to give closure to the family, and that's one thing that we focus a lot on the foundation. It's not about just helping the living; it's about helping the deceased.
Yeah.
So when we go to these locations, we're not only helping the living; we are helping the deceased. Sometimes the deceased may have some unfinished business. Sometimes they may be afraid to cross over, but I take great pleasure in knowing that we do the very best that we can to help living and the dead be at peace. That is the best reward that anyone could ever get. It's not about being on TV. It's not about being famous. It's not about that. I don't care about any of those things. A lot of the work that we do is behind the scenes, and I'm pretty sure most of our cases can put a lot of these paranormal shows into shame, but we choose not to share that. We share those internally with our investigators and our future psychics and researchers once they become a member of the foundation to help instruct and train them to become better individuals and investigators.
So, Kenneth, I'm just curious because time's getting away from us, but what is coming up for you and the foundation that you can talk about?
So, foundation-wise, not much going on. We just continue the mission. We continue with our recruitment, and we continue helping people around the world. I actually just released a book about a month and a half ago, Introduction to the Demonic Education. And I made that book specifically for paranormal investigators. It's a small book, like 5x6. And I made it so investigators can have it in their backpack, in their go bag, so that they can get common information about the question that they may have about negative and darker energies. For me, on a personal note, I am going to be going to Texas in a few weeks. I'm going to be helping out a team investigate I think it's called the Menger Hotel in San Antonio. On top of that, I'm going to be at the Grey Ghost Paracon here in Alameda. I'm going to be I'm going to be speaking with Dr. Lloyd Albacher, Sean Aston, and Daryl Marston. So I've got that coming up for me.
Wow.
Oh, I'm kind of wishing I lived in San Antonio right now. That's 4 hours from where I live.
Okay. Well, I'm visiting my grandmother as well too. So, but yeah, it's I think it's called the Menger or the Langer Hotel. Not too sure.
Menger.
Menger, yeah. Michelle, if you're still on, can you confirm? But yeah.
Yeah, so you're a busy man then.
Yeah, and then we'll see. There's some talks about potentially me going, to Costa Rica and doing some international convention, and then I'm hoping that maybe sometime next year I'll be able to go cross over the pond and do some work over there.
I was just about to ask that if you've got any plans to come to the UK.
Of course, yeah. I've got teammates and family out there. Well, foundation family members. So I've got artist Lana. I've got Corrine Engelberg. I got a couple of other people that are foundation members that live across the pond, and it'd be nice to go over there and visit them and try to get some work done over there as well.
Yeah, awesome. Well, if you do pop across, give us a shout.
Oh, of course, yeah. Were you in Scotland or Kel?
Close.
I'm like not far from the borders of Scotland. I'm in northeast England.
Okay.
But I don't know for how long I'm going to be here because I'm contemplating on moving further down south.
Oh,
So
you're gonna come to the States?
I am actually coming to the States for 4 weeks in October, but not permanently.
Oh, nice. Well, you're gonna have a lot of fun here in the States. A lot of fast food over here.
Yeah, that's what I'm looking forward to.
A lot of great greasy fast food, French fries, hamburgers, cheeseburgers, barbecue, chili.
Yeah, it's like the food that you get over there is a lot more extravagant compared to what we have over here. So,
Well, no, a lot of the food overseas, I mean, it's very elegant. The Europe is just a mecca of just wonderful foods. But over here, we have our own different styles, our own different cuisines.
yeah, I'm actually looking forward to trying the difference between McDonald's over there and over here.
Oh, yeah.
As stupid as that sounds, it's like I've had so many friends go over there and they're like, "Oh my god, the McDonald's over there is totally different."
Is it true that at the McDonald's where you're at, they sell beer?
No,
Like,
not that I know of.
Okay. Because I've heard some places overseas where you go to McDonald's and it's beer on tap. It's like, what? You imagine get some French fries and you have like a nice pint of Guinness coming out the fountain.
Not that I've heard of, I must admit. So no. I know that you have like loads of different things on your like McDonald's menus compared to what we have. We don't really have like half the stuff that you've got from what I've heard.
Yeah, we've got quarter pounders, double quarter pounders, Big Macs, chicken nuggets, French fries. I think the French fries are universal though. Can't go wrong with those golden fries.
Yeah.
I'm kind of waiting for the double Big Mac to come out.
We've got that at the minute. Yeah,
well, you can just make your own double Big Mac. Just tell them to put double meat on it.
Yeah.
We had the chicken double. What was it? The chicken Big Mac a while ago. I think it was a double chicken Big Mac. Yeah, wasn't very nice. Well,
yeah, just like it's funny because like in other countries like Korea and Japan, they have their own version of certain things too.
Yeah.
Sounds interesting.
Yeah.
So one last question anyway. What advice would you give to somebody that's obviously dealing with a haunting?
If you're dealing with a haunting, contact the Warren Legacy Foundation. Go to warrenfiles.com/contact us. Fill out the request for help, and we'll get back to you as soon as we can. But in the meantime, as well, just don't be afraid. Try to grab your bearings. Try to explain the natural first. The supernatural is not as scary as TV portrays it to be.
Yeah.
So it's not the Winchesters coming around?
No. Although sometimes I feel like, we can be. Like we have an arsenal, with all the holy tools to combat evil. The wooden stakes,
nice
the cross, the dragon's breath rifle.
And the nice car that never needs gas.
Right.
Oh God, I wish I had that car. Chevy. Was it a '67 Chevy Impala?
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm not a fan of the show at all.
No.
Where could people find you if they need to go into a tree apart from the Warren Legacy?
So you can find me on Facebook. You can find me fatherkendoctor.com, spelled out. Yeah. And then also too, I mean, if you want like religious services, like you want prayer, all that type of stuff, you can reach us at sosmausa.com, sosmausa.com.
Yeah. Another thing is, what was the name of your book for anybody that wanted to have a look at it?
So it's called Introduction to the Demonic Education, and it's on Amazon. It's available digitally in Spanish, but it's on Amazon Kindle in English as well as paperback.
Congratulations on that.
Yeah.
It's hard. Let me tell you something. That was one of the hardest things I had to do. So rough draft, it was 44 pages, but altogether, on the small print together, it was 66 pages, which I'm kind of glad because I'm making fun of the devil there. 66, one more number. Yeah. But, it's a basic introduction, on my understanding, according to my faith, on what these things are and how they operate. And also, just talking to other clergy as well, what their experiences are. So, I plan on adding on to that book and making it a series. But I'm going to take some time off because it was hard. I mean, it was the hardest 6 months I had to do that I did. It's just, I give it up to other writers that can do 100, 200 pages. That's fine. Maybe this next book I will. But in the meantime, I'm just trying to keep it basic, because I feel like as investigators, you don't want to go through a whole big book of 500 pages to look for an answer. If I can give you the answer right there, it's right there. Look at it. Boom. Okay, well, plain and simple. And It's a layman's term as well.
Wow, that's pretty amazing. I actually wrote it down just so I could go and have a look for it on Amazon.
Yeah, you can. I think it's on my Facebook profile. You can find a link somewhere on one of my posts.
Right.
Or I can send it to you as well.
Well, when I do get it, mind you, I hope that when you come over to England, you can sign it for us.
Oh, of course I will.
Cool. So anyway, that's time up, unfortunately. So I mean, it's been amazing having you on again, and I mean, some of it obviously Michael understood more than what I did. Obviously, as he pointed out. So, but yeah, it's really interesting, and I'm so over the moon that you came on. And
I'm grateful. Thank you so much.
Hopefully
Thank you so much for having me on.
Yeah. It was a pleasure, but hopefully we can get you on again in the future. So and find out what other experiences you've been up to and see if you've written your second book.
Yeah, we'll see where my travels take me to next.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, Michael, have you got any more questions before we close up?
Actually, I am out of questions right now.
That makes a first. So, well, we may as well. Have you got anything else you would like to add, Kenneth?
Well, Ron Stokes, Archbishop Torres, what is the biggest differences between regular hauntings and dark and malevolent hauntings? Regular hauntings are just that. They're just transient energy, or sometimes they're intelligent energies that they haven't crossed over yet, and so they're just there making things happen. Nothing too dramatic about it. As far as the malevolent hauntings, that's when you have things that are a lot more questionable. These things, they want to cause you a little more harm. They start creating a little more damage. They're a little more aggressive, so to speak. So the difference between a regular haunting and a dark or malevolent haunting is basically the activity, that's happening. Some activity is just going to be unnoticeable, sometimes noticeable, but the malevolent hauntings, if the spirit is a jerk, they're going to act more aggressive.
Yeah. Right. I think, that's it. So, I just want to thank everybody that's been commenting. And if you've got any more questions, you can get in touch with us or get in touch with Kenneth directly. So, I'd like to say again, thank you for coming on. And I'm going to leave it to Michael to close up again this week. But thank you very much again. And Michael, what we've got on next week is we're back next week.
We are actually coming back next week with the special part 2 of our talk with Kathy Tierney Cogliano. So you'll want to stay tuned to catch the second half of that interview. And with that, it'll be same time. So we'll be putting that promo out as soon as it's ready. And with that, we hope everyone has a blessed day, night, wherever you're at in this world, and enjoy life.
Yeah, certainly. Okay, good night.
Thank you for joining us at Paranormal Verses. Hope to see you on our next episode. Good night, everyone.